It was incredibly emotional. I think when your loved ones pass away, typically there's, you have some videos or maybe voicemails.
It started quietly. No press release, no social media post. Just a subtle shift that only a few people noticed at first. The doors to Graceland were no longer open in the same way they had been for decades. For over 40 years, millions of fans have walked through the gates of Elvis Presley's iconic Memphis estate. They've toured the trophy rooms, the jungle room, the meditation garden. They've marveled at the gold records, the jumpsuits, the Cadillac collection. But recently, something changed. No more exclusive walkthroughs, no more after-hours media access. Even longtime staff have reported tighter restrictions, locked doors where there once were open ones, and a growing silence around the mansion's most guarded areas. Graceland, it seems, is on lockdown. And behind that decision is a name with both legacy and weight: Riley Keough. She's not just Elvis Presley's granddaughter. She's the newly appointed guardian of his estate. And what she's done has taken fans, journalists, and even insiders by surprise. Some are calling it radical. Others are calling it long overdue. So what exactly is happening behind Graceland's gates? And why now? This isn't the first time Graceland has had its secrets. Since it opened to the public in 1982, the mansion has balanced on a delicate line between tourist destination and sacred family ground. One part of the house has always remained completely off-limits: the second floor, where Elvis lived, worked, and ultimately died. That part of the estate has never been part of the tour. It never will be. But now, even the spaces that were once accessible, the music room, the racquetball court, even the archives, are being restricted. Security is tighter. Appointments canceled. Access denied. And there's been no official explanation. Naturally, rumors are starting to spread. Is Riley planning a total renovation? Is the estate about to be sold? Is she hiding something, some revelation, some discovery that's not ready for the public eye? The truth, as always with Graceland, lies somewhere between myth and memory. What we do know is this: Riley Keough inherited more than just a house. She inherited a kingdom and a responsibility. When her mother, Lisa Marie Presley, passed away in 2023, Riley suddenly found herself holding the keys to one of the most iconic legacies in American history. And from day one, she's done things differently. This isn't about selling tickets. It's not about turning Graceland into a theme park. This is something more complex, more personal, more painful. But that doesn't stop the questions. Why close off Graceland now? What's being protected? What's being hidden? And perhaps more importantly, what's about to be revealed? Stay with me, because to understand Riley Keough's decision, you have to understand what Graceland really is, what it was never meant to be, and why the most important part of Elvis Presley's story may still be unfolding. To understand the weight of what Riley Keough is doing now, you have to go back to the early days of Graceland, not as a museum, not as a landmark, but as a home. A real, lived-in, breathing place filled with music, silence, and the ghost of impossible fame. When Elvis Presley bought Graceland in 1957, he wasn't just buying a house. He was buying privacy. A 10,000-square-foot retreat nestled just beyond Memphis city limits, where the screaming stopped and the lights dimmed. Graceland was his sanctuary, his escape from the tidal wave of attention that defined his life. While the downstairs of the mansion became a kind of stage, trophy cases, pianos, wild decor, the second floor was different. That was his world, his true world. No cameras, no reporters, no guests, unless personally invited. And after his death in 1977, that part of the house became even more sacred. It was Lisa Marie, Elvis's only daughter, who made the first vow. The upstairs stays closed. She was just 9 years old when he died, but she understood even then that some places weren't meant to be shared. Over the decades, she honored that promise. Tour guides were instructed never to cross the barrier. Even VIP guests, presidents, rock stars, royalty, never got a glimpse. Priscilla Presley, too, helped preserve that silence. As Graceland transitioned into a public museum in the 1980s, Priscilla managed the transformation with care. The money from the tours kept the estate alive, but the most personal spaces were never monetized. That was the deal. That was the line in the velvet rope, and for over 40 years it held. The bedroom, untouched. The bathroom, preserved. The closet, still holding the jumpsuits. Time didn't just freeze, it bowed its head. Riley Keough grew up hearing stories about these rooms. She remembers being told never to touch anything upstairs. She remembers the hush in her mother's voice when she spoke about the second floor, as if Elvis might still be resting just beyond the hallway. Now, that legacy is hers to carry. And in a world that increasingly demands access, transparency, and behind-the-scenes content, Riley is standing firm, not out of stubbornness, but out of respect. Because what's behind those locked doors isn't memorabilia, it's memory. And yet, something has shifted. The lines are being redrawn, not to open the rooms, but to protect them more fiercely than ever before. And that begs a new question. What is Riley protecting? And why now, after all these years, is the silence growing deeper instead of fading away? This isn't about slamming the door shut. It's about keeping something from slipping away forever. When Lisa Marie Presley passed away in 2023, the Presley family legacy didn't just shift, it fractured. Riley Keough didn't just lose her mother. She lost her guide, her link to Elvis, her protector from the weight of the crown she never asked to wear. In the quiet aftermath of that loss, Riley wasn't just grieving. She was handed the keys to a kingdom: Graceland, the estate, the archives, the myth, and was expected to rule it with grace, precision, and reverence. And she's doing exactly that. But not the way people expected. While fans anticipated more access, more reveals, more behind-the-scenes moments, Riley went in the opposite direction. Doors that were sometimes quietly opened for documentaries or trusted insiders are now locked. Strictly. Permanently. Why? Because grief changes things. Because when you lose someone, the instinct isn't to share more, it's to hold tighter. Riley has said little publicly about her decisions, but those close to her say the message is clear. Some things are too sacred to be content. And after decades of commercialization, impersonation, and myth-making, Riley isn't trying to be Elvis's promoter. She's trying to be his protector. It's not that she doesn't understand the fascination. She does. She grew up with it. But she also understands the cost. Fame may have built Graceland, but it also broke the man who lived inside it. By locking down certain areas, by cutting off the steady stream of curated access, Riley is doing what few in her position would dare to do. She's choosing preservation over popularity. She's not a gatekeeper. She's a guardian, one carrying the emotional residue of 3 generations who were all, in different ways, consumed by a spotlight too bright to survive. And she knows something the rest of the world often forgets. Not everything Elvis left behind was meant to be seen. Some of it was meant to be felt and fiercely protected. This isn't about hiding history. It's about holding space for it. And in that silence, in those closed doors and unspoken stories, Riley is writing a new chapter of the Presley legacy. One where love means saying no to the world, so that something deeper. There's a place in Graceland where time doesn't just slow, it stops. A clock frozen at the hour the paramedics arrived. A Bible left open to the last page he read. A shoebox under the bed labeled, in Elvis's own handwriting, "Do not open." This is the second floor of Graceland. No one, not even the most die-hard fans, not even celebrities with private access, has ever stepped foot beyond that stairwell unless they were family. Not since August 16, 1977, the day Elvis Presley died in the upstairs bathroom. From that moment forward, the second floor wasn't just private. It was sacred. For decades, it's remained exactly as Elvis left it. The silk sheets are still on the bed. The cologne in his bathroom still lingers faintly in the air. His closet, filled with stage jumpsuits and denim, still holds the weight of a man not yet ready to let go. The nightstand is untouched. A book still rests there, mid-sentence, mid-thought, mid-life. To outsiders, it's a shrine. But to Riley Keough, it's something far more intimate, a preserved heartbreak. She's walked those rooms, not as a tourist, not as an archivist, as a granddaughter, as a daughter of a daughter who grew up haunted by both presence and absence. She's seen the letters Elvis never sent, some to Lisa Marie, one addressed simply, "To whoever finds this after I'm gone." She's touched the journals filled with half-finished lyrics, Bible verses, spiritual notes scribbled with underlines and exclamation points. In one margin, a single word written over and over in thick black ink. Free. There is no exhibit that could capture that. No velvet rope that could protect it. And certainly no live stream, camera crew, or guided tour that would do anything but break the spell. Riley knows this, which is why she's drawn the line even more firmly than her mother and grandmother before her. The upstairs will never open. Not while she's alive. Not while the story still breathes in silence. Because it's in that silence that you begin to feel who Elvis really was. Not the icon, but the man. A man in pain, a man in search of peace. A man who gave everything on stage and left everything else upstairs. For Riley, this space isn't about secrecy. It's about soul. It's the heartbeat of Graceland. The one place untouched by fanfare, untouched by history books, untouched by the endless parade of flashbulbs and ticket lines. And that's why it matters more now than ever before. Because when the world demands access, sometimes the most radical act of love is saying, "This part stays ours." Graceland has always attracted curiosity. But now it's attracting something more volatile: speculation, legal battles, and the weight of a myth too heavy to carry alone. Riley Keough didn't just inherit her grandfather's estate. She inherited a storm. In the wake of Lisa Marie Presley's sudden passing, the world expected a smooth transition. Instead, headlines exploded with a different story: Riley versus Priscilla. The legal dispute between Riley and her grandmother wasn't just about paperwork. It was about power, control over Graceland, over Elvis's name, over a multi-million-dollar legacy. At the center of it was a 2016 amendment to Lisa Marie's trust, reportedly removing Priscilla as a co-trustee and naming Riley as sole beneficiary. Priscilla challenged the validity of that amendment. For months, tabloid headlines ran wild. Rumors of family division, talk of betrayal, questions about authenticity and legal intent. Eventually, the matter was settled out of court, but the damage was already done. Riley had barely stepped into her role when the world began to question her ability to carry it. That pressure hasn't stopped. Every decision she makes is scrutinized. Why tighten access to Graceland? Why block certain media projects? Why hold back never-before-seen documents and rumored recordings? Some fans think she's hiding something. Others believe she's preparing for a major release. There are whispers of lost Elvis tapes, hidden in the upstairs study, unreleased songs never published by RCA. Online forums light up with theories. Bootlegs, voice notes, death confession letters, even mentions of a secret will. Then there are the whispers of secret heirs, people claiming to be Elvis's biological children, lawsuits filed, DNA requests made. One man even petitioned a court to exhume Elvis's body for testing. It was denied, but the rumors didn't die. Riley, through it all, has remained almost completely silent. She doesn't respond to gossip. She doesn't entertain theories. And she doesn't explain every locked door. To some, that silence feels like evasion. But to others, it feels like protection. Because here's the truth. Riley Keough is in a no-win position. Open everything, and she's accused of exploiting her grandfather. Close everything, and she's accused of hiding the truth. And so, she walks a tightrope, not just between past and present, but between legacy and liability. The lockdown of Graceland isn't just a personal boundary, it's a strategic shield against misinformation, against legal overreach, against the world's need to pick apart something that was never meant to be a spectacle. Riley understands the cost of fame. Her grandfather lived it. Her mother inherited it. She's not just preserving a house, she's protecting a family wound. And in that tension, between truth and curiosity, between reverence and rumor, Riley is quietly proving that not all mysteries are meant to be solved. Some are meant to be respected. This isn't about erasing Elvis Presley's legacy. It's about recentering it, peeling back the rhinestones, quieting the noise, and finally, after all these years, telling the story of the man, not the myth. Riley Keough isn't retreating from the spotlight out of fear. She's doing it out of intent. Her vision for Graceland doesn't involve flashy renovations or monetized mystery tours. There are no plans for VR walkthroughs of the upstairs rooms, no pay-per-view live streams of preserved spaces, no Netflix docuseries fishing for family secrets. Instead, she's chosen a quieter, slower, more reverent path, truth through preservation. Behind the scenes, Riley has quietly assembled a team of archivists, preservationists, and historians. Their mission isn't commercial, it's curatorial. They're scanning handwritten lyrics, letters, and journal entries, high-resolution photography of personal effects, audio enhancements of fragile recordings. The materials are being carefully digitized, not for immediate public consumption, but for long-term protection, for the future, for the next generation of researchers, fans, and family who will want to know not just what Elvis did, but who he was. And what they're uncovering isn't always glamorous. Stacks of spiritual writings, letters of longing, private grief, draft lyrics never completed, notes scribbled during nights of insomnia, pages where a single word like why or free appears again and again. This is not the version of Elvis Presley that lives in impersonator shows or souvenir shops. This is the man Riley knew through her mother's memories. This is the Elvis who loved hard, hurt quietly, and searched relentlessly for peace in a world that refused to give it to him. And that's the version she wants the world to meet. It's not that Riley is keeping people out. She's inviting them in, just not in the way they expect, not through spectacle. Graceland was never just a house, and now it's no longer just a destination. Under Riley Keough, it's becoming something else entirely, something quieter, deeper, more human. For decades, Graceland has existed in two worlds, part sacred family space, part pop culture phenomenon. Millions came to see where Elvis lived, hoping to feel a little closer to the king. They walked the halls, took the tours, snapped photos by the gates. But something is changing. Riley isn't tearing down that experience, but she is redefining it. The future of Graceland, under her care, isn't built on access for access's sake. It's built on intention, on emotional resonance, on a new definition of legacy, one not shaped by demand, but by love. She's not offering more behind-the-scenes footage. She's offering more truth. And that truth won't always come in the form people expect. It won't be a virtual tour of the second floor. It won't be a tell-all documentary or a monetized archive dump. It may not even be immediate. What Riley is building is slower, stronger, more lasting. Graceland is being shaped into a living memorial, not frozen in the past, but pulsing with the emotional heartbeat of what it meant to live under fame's spotlight, and what it means to protect a legacy when the world won't stop asking for more. It's a place where the velvet ropes still matter, where boundaries are honored, where silence is not emptiness, but respect. Riley is reminding the world that some doors, once closed, are not hiding secrets. They're holding sacred ground. She's turning Graceland into something Elvis himself never truly had. A place where privacy is not just possible, but protected. And in doing so, she's leaving behind her own legacy. One not carved into gold records, but into memory. Quietly, fiercely, with reverence. Because love doesn't always look like openness. Sometimes it looks like guarding the flame, even when the world wants to watch it burn brighter. And that may be Graceland's most important transformation yet. Not every story needs to end with answers. Some just need to be understood. If there's one thing Riley Keough has made clear, it's this. Graceland isn't a mystery to be solved. It's a memory to be respected. For years, the world has looked to this house for answers, seeking clues, rumors, secret passageways, lost tapes, and legacy drama. But maybe it's time we stop chasing the legend and start honoring the man behind it. Because at the heart of this story isn't a conspiracy or a controversy. It's a family. A daughter who lost her mother. A granddaughter who lost them both. A woman standing alone in a house that holds more silence than sound. And in that silence, Riley is doing something that feels almost revolutionary in a world obsessed with exposure. She's choosing care over curiosity, stillness over spectacle, grace over gratification. So the next time we look toward Graceland and wonder, why can't we see more? Maybe the better question is, do we need to? Because what Riley is offering now isn't about doors swinging open. It's about hearts opening up to a more honest story. One of loss, one of protection, one of deep, imperfect human love. She's not trying to bury Elvis's memory. She's trying to free it from the myth. So, if you came here looking for shock, scandal, or a scoop, you might be in the wrong place. But if you came here to feel something real, to sit with the emotional truth behind the music, the fame, the legend, then you're exactly where you're meant to be. Graceland has always had velvet ropes. Riley just reminded us why they were there in the first place. Thank you for being here. If this story moved you, if it made you think or feel or remember, like the video, share it with someone who still believes in legacy. And if you want more untold histories, rare truths, and emotional storytelling that looks past the spotlight and into the soul, subscribe to this channel, because sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones whispered, not shouted.